Hello there, Mr. Sutton here, bringing you the IM3 710 Part 2 homework solutions on the other trigonometric functions.
On this problem, we're trying to find the tan of 240. Let's start by getting a reference angle. So 240, that's 60 degrees away from the 180 line, the closest x-axis angle. And tangent in quadrant 3, which is where this is, has a positive slope. So that means we're going to have positive tan of 60 if we rewrite that. And now let me rewrite this with sine and cosine. This is really sine of 60 over cosine of 60. Sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. Cosine of 60 is 1/2. Now if I divide these, same change flip, I'm going to be canceling out these 2's in the denominator. So this really just comes out to radical 3 over 1, or just simply radical 3. To find the secant of 180 degrees, it helps to realize this is really 1 over the cosine of 180. Cosine of 180, that's the x value over at the left side of the unit circle, so that's -1 down there. 1 over -1 is just -1. To do this problem, it'll be easier if I convert this first to degrees. 180 divided by 4 is 45. 7 times that, that's going to be 315. That might be a good one to have memorized. So 315 degrees. Now 315, that's 45 degrees away from the 360 line, so our reference angle is 45. Cotan behaves just like tangent in terms of the signage. So in quadrant 4, we have a negative slope, which means cotan is also going to be negative there, just like tangent. So this is going to be negative cotan of 45 degrees if I rewrite this. So I could make this negative 1 over tan of 45, and I know the tan of 45 is 1. Or you could go a little bit more of the long way around and rewrite this as negative cosine of 45 over sine of 45. Cosine of 45 and sine of 45, those are both radical 2 over 2's. So if you divide something by itself, you end up with 1, but don't forget we have this negative out in front. So this comes out to -1. On this problem, let's start by getting a reference angle. 150, that's 30 degrees away from 180, so that's our reference angle, 30 degrees. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, and that's y values. Those are negative, actually those are positive up in quadrant 2, 150 is in quadrant 2, positive above the x-axis. So we can rewrite this then as positive cosecant of 30 degrees. And now we can rewrite this with its reciprocal. This is really 1 over sine of 30. Sine of 30 is 1/2, and 1 over 1/2, same change, flip, that's going to end up being 2. To find the cosecant of pi, we're going to rewrite this as cosecant of 180 degrees, just so I can think about it a little bit better. And cosecant, we know that's really 1 over sine of 180. Sine of 180, that's the y value over at 180 degrees. That's 0, so we've got 1 over 0, which is undefined. For this problem, let's begin by converting this into degrees. So we have 180 divided by 3 is going to be 60, times 2 is 120 degrees. Now 120, that's 60 degrees away from the 180 line, and tangent, the slope of the angle, is negative in quadrant 2, so I can rewrite this as negative tangent of 60 degrees. And now let me turn this into sine and cosine. This is really negative sine of 60 over cosine of 60. Sine of 60, what is that? That's going to be radical 3 over 2. Cosine of 60 is going to be 1/2. So this reduces, if you cancel out these denominator 2's here, to negative radical 3. For this problem, we've got secant of 315. Reference angle on this, we're 45 degrees away from 360. And secant behaves like cosine. X values are positive to the right of the y-axis in quadrant 4 here. So this is going to be secant of 45, if I rewrite this with a reference angle, positive secant of 45 degrees. Now I can rewrite this as 1 over cosine of 45 degrees. We know cosine of 45 degrees is radical 2 over 2. So this is 1 over that. And then we need the reciprocal of that, so that's going to be 2 over root 2. And if I multiply by root 2 over itself, I have 2 root 2 over 2. 2's are going to cancel, so we just have radical 2 when the dust settles on this one. On this problem, let me first convert this into degrees. 180 divided by 6 is 30, times -7 is -210 degrees. And now let me add 360 so I can tell where I am quadrant-wise. That's really the equivalent of positive 150 degrees. That's in quadrant 2. I'm closest to the 180 line on the x-axis, so my reference angle, we're 30 degrees away from that, so my reference angle is going to be 30 degrees. Cosine, the x values, those are actually negative in quadrant 2 to the left of the y-axis. So with a reference angle, I'm going to have to rewrite this as negative cosine of 30 degrees. Cosine of 30 we know is root 3 over 2, and we have a negative out in front, so negative radical 3 over 2. To figure out the sine of 120, let's use a reference angle. 120 is 60 degrees away from the x-axis, from the 180 line at least, and sine is positive above the x-axis, so this is positive sine of 60 degrees. Now we know sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2, so that's going to be our answer. To find the cosine of negative 3 pi over 2, let me just turn this into degrees first. This is going to be negative 270 degrees. And this is equivalent to positive 90 degrees if we add 360. So I've got cosine of 90 degrees now that I'm looking at. This is the x value at the top of the unit circle, which is 0.